a very special NHL rankings, power rankings by Sports Unfolded. My hockey guy, Ron. Each week, we're going to basically give you our hockey rankings. This show is really just going to be based on how we got to those rankings and why we're at those rankings. So, Ron, whenever you're ready, man, you can take
I'm
off.
ready. I'm fired up for this one. I'm fired up. So, quickly, number 5, St. Louis Blues with a 14-goal differential for the season. They are 6-1. They haven't played, a lot of the powerhouse teams in the league, but going 6-1 at this stage, just edging out Edmonton and the New York Rangers to get on this list. Number 4, now we're starting to dive into the superpowers. Washington Capitals. They only have a plus 11 goal differential, but they haven't lost in regulation yet, and they're 5-0-3. Those 3 overtime losses are Detroit, Calgary, and Tampa Bay. So Detroit being an up and coming team, but Calgary and Tampa Bay are no slouches, and they got 2 overtime losses against them. So 5-0-3 record, good enough to get to number 4. Number 3, though, is Calgary, who won against the Capitals in OT, and that's a huge win. They also have won now 6 in a row with a plus 14 differential in goals. That's unbelievable. 6-1-1 record, and they're just coming off 2 shutouts against Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, 2 teams that have really done well this year and struggling for injuries and stuff like that. But those are 2 good teams that they just shut out 4-0 each of them. That's big. Florida, number 2. They were number 1 last week. They slipped a spot for that loss, their only loss against Boston, against the Boston Bruins. But it was an overtime loss, so they really haven't lost a regulation game yet. They are 8-0-1 and a staggering plus 18 goal differential. Wow. How they are not blowing everybody out at this point, it's mind-boggling. So their only blemish is the Boston Bruins in that 3-2 overtime loss. This coming after they just beat Detroit in overtime. And before that game, they beat Boston 4-1. So Boston had to scrape and claw for that win. Number 1 was last week's number 2, Carolina Hurricanes. No, not the Panthers of Carolina, the Hurricanes of Carolina. 8-0. There is no blemish against this team. They have Chicago next, so they could very well be 9-0 after that one. And then they have Florida, which is going to tell us everything about these 5. They have wins over Boston, Toronto, Islanders, some of the cream of the crop in the East. So they are winning against good teams, and they are blowing out the bad teams. They have a plus 21 goal differential in 8 games. 8 games!
Wow.
That's almost 3 more goals than their opponent in each game. That's insane at this point. So Carolina easily the number 1 team in the league right now. Who can catch this team? I don't know. We're going to find out against Florida. If Florida can't do it, Carolina's looking pretty.
All right, so let's see if we can bring this up. And this is the actual rankings. So there they are. Carolina
at 1,
boys
and girls.
Florida Panthers at 2. Calgary Flames at 3. Washington Capitals at 4. And the St. Louis Blues rounding out our top 5 for our NHL power rankings for this week. So, Ron, is there any team that we should be looking out for next week that possibly could make this list?
Oh, absolutely. Edmonton was on last week, and because they haven't really played many good teams, I couldn't put them over St. Louis. Edmonton can easily get right back in there. Then there's the Rangers, who are 6-2. They are off to a great start. And Boston, who is out to a slow start, hasn't even begun to hit their stride yet. So there's another team that could possibly get in there. Other than that, you're looking at Carolina, Florida, and Calgary right now are clearly the best teams in the league. Washington might be a little older, but I think they're savvy enough to stay in there. So I think the one vulnerable team would probably be St. Louis, and one of those three teams are probably going to jump in there if they catch fire.
Excellent. So this is our NHL rankings for this week on Sports Unfolded. If you enjoyed what you've seen today, check us out on Friday nights at 6 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, on Rhode Island Broadcasting and RI _ broadcasting on Twitch, where we go live every Friday night at 6 p.m. So, Ron, thank you again for your hockey insight. Appreciate it as always. And
Not a problem.
I look forward to next week's rankings and see where we come out, if anybody's moved up in the rankings.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we got some good teams out there that are just trying to get into it. Hey, and might us not forget Tampa Bay Lightning.
Right, the defending champions. So at some point they might turn it around. So, Ron, we'll see you on Friday night. Take care. Thank you again for the Sports Unfolded NHL rankings of the week. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week and your rankings.
See you next week.